Have you ever wondered if an ordinary human could withstand the superhuman forces wielded by Kratos? From the over 9,000-degree Fahrenheit heat of his blades of chaos to the strength required to battle titans, today we're breaking down the science behind these unbelievable feats. Could your body handle being the god of war? If you love mind-blowing facts like these, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an epic breakdown. Have you ever stopped to think about what would happen if a regular human suddenly received the powers of a god? The transformation of Kratos from a driven Spartan general to a demigod has a fascinating scientific angle. Let's trace back to Kratos' early days when he was still mortal but born with above-average strength, thank Zeus for that. Before he became the legendary Ghost of Sparta, Kratos was a mortal warrior blessed by divine lineage. Even so, a typical ancient Greek Spartan could haul roughly 70 pounds of gear into hours-long battles, a testament to their brutal, lifelong training. When Kratos strikes his desperate bargain with Ares, everything changes. His body undergoes transformations beyond normal human biology. The real question: how much extra power did his physique actually gain? Studies on the theoretical limits of human strength suggest that even the strongest among us might lift a bit over 1,000 pounds at most. Still technically possible, just extremely rare and only on very controlled movements and environments. Kratos zooms right past that threshold the moment he starts performing acrobatics with the Blades of Chaos, which are made of heavily dense metal, given their virtual indestructibility, and could weigh dozens to hundreds of pounds. He doesn't just lift them, though. He whirls them in rapid circles, generating extreme centrifugal forces on each arm, enough to tear any normal person's limbs right off. Then there are Kratos' crazy leaps. If an ordinary human attempted the same stunts, leaping multiple times one's own height, the landing impact alone would produce G-forces powerful enough to shatter bones and scramble organs. For reference, fighter pilots might black out under sustained forces above 9G, even wearing specialized suits. Kratos routinely exceeds those G-loads when executing his most savage attacks. Every time he rips off a Cyclops' head or crushes a Minotaur's skull, he's delivering forces that go beyond 20G. Scientifically, surviving that kind of punishment would require bones at least 10 times denser than normal. By contrast, a disease called osteopetrosis only quadruples human bone density and causes severe complication. Kratos' skeleton would need to be denser than titanium. His muscle fibers? Also off the charts. Typical human muscle produces around 16 to 30 newtons per square centimeter. Kratos' would need to be 100 times stronger to accomplish the feats shown in the games. The heat generated by his own muscle contractions would be enough to cook normal flesh without some divine cooling mechanism. And let's talk about caloric intake. An Olympic athlete eats around 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day. Michael Phelps once scarfed down about 12,000. Kratos? He'd burn 30,000 to 60,000 calories in a single battle with a god. Think of that as 240 Big Macs in one day. A regular human couldn't stomach that, let alone convert it into superhuman might. Surprised by these numbers? Leave a comment below about which of Kratos' feats blows your mind the most. Fighting gods is one thing, but what if we try to quantify Kratos' power when he goes up against a titan? In God of War 3, we witness a physics-defying scene. Kratos holding back the colossal finger of Kronos. If you thought 60,000 calories was a lot, buckle up. These figures get even wilder. The God of War 3 universe shows Kronos as a towering giant, roughly 488 meters tall, with entire buildings seeming like children's toys at his feet. By estimating his mass and volume, we end up with something near 15 billion pounds of Titan. Each step would trigger quakes and flatten mountains. What's more staggering is the moment Kronos tries to squash Kratos with his gigantic fingers, and Kratos pushes back. The finger press alone exerts about 1.6 trillion newtons of force. That's 400 million times stronger than the hardest punch from any champion boxer in history. A mere mortal would be smeared into paste instantly. Even our toughest engineered materials would fail under such pressure. For Kratos not only to survive but to push back, his muscles and bones would have to be made of some ultra-theoretical substance that far exceeds steel, titanium, or Kevlar. Human bones can handle about 1,700 psi before cracking. Kratos' bones? They'd need to be billions of times tougher, like comparing an eggshell to a spaceship hull. Also, it's not just about withstanding Kronos' force. Kratos must generate an equal force to hold that finger at bay. Translating that to a lifting comparison, he's essentially hoisting about 40 billion pounds, nearly 18.5 million metric tons. That's like 3,700 Giza pyramids stacked together. Pulling off such a feat would demand energy on par with a small nuclear power plant running at full tilt. His body would heat to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit inside, enough to boil water and melt some plastics. And then there's the question of leverage. Basic physics says you need a firm foundation to push against. In Kratos' situation, he'd need something as immovable as the Earth's core to avoid being driven miles into the ground. Think Kratos could take on any Titan at this point? If bending the laws of physics with raw strength isn't enough, Kratos' weapons do a number on thermodynamics too, which is worse. Touching the blades of chaos at about 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit or getting whacked by the Leviathan axe near negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit, absolute zero? Either way, you'd suffer a swift, gruesome end. The axe at near absolute zero. The Leviathan axe isn't just a glowing showpiece. It wields thermal manipulation that instantly freezes enemies in the game. In real-world terms, that suggests it operates close to negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit, effectively absolute zero, the point where atoms nearly stop moving. Science tells us it's theoretically impossible to hit true absolute zero. Even top-tier labs can't remove all thermal energy from a system. Plus, it would break the second law of thermodynamics, since heat transfer takes time and flows from warmer objects to colder ones. Instant freezing doesn't exist, unless you're swinging a mythical Norse weapon. If you got clipped by the Leviathan axe, your body's water would freeze so abruptly, your tissues would shatter like glass. It'd be a literal and figurative chill to the bone. The blades at over 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit. On the flip side, the blades of chaos glow orange, implying a constant temperature of around 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt numerous metals. When Kratos ramps up his attacks, that heat might spike to over 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit, comparable to the surface of the sun. How does he hold them? At such intense temperatures, anything organic within a few feet would be vaporized. The radiant heat alone would roast a normal human's hand to a crisp instantly. To remain perpetually this hot, the blades must have an infinite power source. They effectively ignore the first law of thermodynamics, conservation of energy, shining bright without a hint of fuel. Imagine a blast furnace that never once needs to refuel. What's mind-blowing is that Kratos wields both extremes, an axe near absolute zero and blades hotter than the sun. Talk about dual-wielding thermal opposites. Which weapon would you rather face, the axe of eternal frost or the solar blades of chaos? Hit that like button if you'd prefer neither. If the weapons aren't impressive enough, look at the body that wields them. Kratos' resilience allows him to walk away from scenarios that would obliterate any normal human in seconds. Example, in the games, he leaps off towering heights, hits the ground, and casually stands up like he just hopped off a curb. In reality, that crash could involve forces around 50,000 newtons, akin to a 5-ton truck dropping on you. A regular person? Instant pancake. Then there's the time Zeus blasts Kratos with divine lightning in God of War 2. Real-world lightning can reach about 54,000 degrees Fahrenheit and unleash roughly 300 million volts. A thunderbolt from the King of Gods likely packs hundreds of times that energy. Any mortal? Toast. So how does Kratos shrug it off? He'd need an astronomical level of electrical resistance. Picture a cheap copper wire versus a sci-fi superconductor. Materials science alone can't explain how he disperses the lethal voltage of a godly thunderbolt. He'd also need bones with the flexibility and toughness of graphene, 200 times stronger than steel, skin with the heat shielding of space-grade ceramics, and the regenerative prowess of a salamander, rolled into one unstoppable form. If you're finding these superhuman stats mind-blowing, comment Sparta below to show your Spartan spirit. Ultimately, even more astonishing than Kratos' titanic strength and reality-bending weaponry is his personal journey from a fury-driven warrior to a protective father. It goes to show that even gods can grow and seek redemption. Would you dare endure these impossibilities? If you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the word about the jaw-dropping science behind the myth of Kratos.